I want to talk to you about fulfilling the Great Commission, and this has been something that has always been on my heart from even before I was a leader in the church, before I did youth pastoring, before I was a youth assistant, which I did for a number of years. Then I became a youth pastor, then an assistant pastor, then a senior pastor, and from the very beginning, when I very first gave my heart to God, as I grew up through my teenage years, I always used to go down to a lot of the Youth Alive conferences, which was the big conferences that was for young people put on by the AOG. They called it an interdenominational youth event, but it wasn't. It was run by the AOG. We've got to be honest about what was happening with that. But thousands of people would go to it. And I loved it, and Cherie loved it. And I used to see Pat Mesiti and Christine Kane. They would put up the altar call and preach, and then there'd be hundreds of people would raise their hand. And back in the day, they used to ask them to come down the front so they could pray for them when they made that decision. And the altars would be full of people that had decided to follow God, that weren't following God, and now they are following God. And more than anything, there's my relationship with God, and then there was this. There was me and God knowing that we were good and that God had saved me and God was walking with me. And then the very next thing on my heart was, I can't believe that so many people don't know God, and there's so many people that need to know God. And my motivation for working in youth ministry and then becoming a youth pastor and then taking over this church over 20 years ago, it was always the Great Commission. It was always seeing people that don't know God come in to finding God. That has been my driving force from the very beginning when I ever started to serve God publicly, and it used to inspire me when I was just a Christian and was not serving God publicly but loved Him with my heart. It was always there. Now, if you've been in this church for any length of time, if you've been here for 5 years, you've been here for 10 years, if you've been here for the 20 years since I've been running it, or even beyond that, when you know me, you will know that this is always at the forefront of everything I talk about. And everything I do is motivated by that one single thing. When I sit back and think, will I continue to run the church? Will I not run the church? Will I stay till I'm 70? Will I leave and hand it over to someone else? Will I preach? Will I do a conference? Will we do a carols? Will we do an event? Will we move to the club? Will we build a new church? Every single thing that I've done can be pulled back to that one thing called the Great Commission. And I want to talk to you about that today. I want to ask you a question, but have you ever felt like you're stuck in your life? Like your life is just, you're living and you may love God and things may be okay, but you're stuck in life and it's like you're just doing the same thing over and over again. Now, listen, whether it's your job, you're just stuck in your job, and that's not a bad thing. We've got to work, and you've got to be committed to it. Or whether it's something in your life that you're stuck with, and you've tried to get out of it, but you can't get out of it, or you've tried to get up early, but you can't get up early, or you've tried to put down something, but you can't put down something, or you get into a routine where you just watch too much television every afternoon, and then you regret it because you've wasted, an afternoon, and it happens over and over again. But regardless of what you do, you just feel like you're stuck there. You know what I'm talking about? It could be something that you're stuck with in your life. It could also be a stale relationship that you have with God, where you love God and you wouldn't call it, well, I'm stuck with God, because that's a good thing to be stuck with God. But you would feel you just feel it's not exciting anymore. It's just like we do it, and our relationship is something that we're going through. It's like we're stuck in routine with things. You've lost the excitement for life. Maybe you've lost the excitement for your connection with God. Maybe your life is not just flowing and bubbling over, and you're just not living life to the full. When you get like that, when that happens to our life, my point is, you got to move forward. When you identify an area of your life, whether it's your walk with God or whether it's your daily routine, and you know that you're stuck and you know that you're in routine, I want to encourage you today, you've got to move forward. Everybody say with me, I've got to move forward, okay? You've got to move forward. Don't stop when you know that gets around your life. And for goodness sake, don't camp there, move forward. The Bible says this. In Psalm 23, I'd love to unpack this, but I'm not going to do it today. But it says this in Psalm 23, verse 1. It says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing." Now, there's a whole message by itself. Just knowing that God is your shepherd, that God is the one, that He's the voice you listen to, He's the one that leads you. When you do that, you will lack nothing. Whole message on its own. Verse number 2, it says, "He makes me lie down in green pastures." You know, when things are, God is so good. Another message, and I'm not going to go into it, but let me just comment on it. He makes you lie down in green pastures. Sometimes things happen in your life and you would never choose it, but it's God making you stop, making you slow down, making you be still, get help, rethink it, and realize there's a better way than you're currently going. I know people that have had near accidents and they're in hospital for a while and they're stuck in the hospital bed for weeks, and they go, "You know what? I've rethought everything about what I've done." They have one near accident, which we would say, "That's pretty bad, you nearly died." And they're saying, "But hang on a minute, that one near accident made me rethink everything I've ever done, and now I'm going to live more than I ever lived before." He makes me lie down. So don't think everything that happens in your life is bad. He makes you lie down in green pastures. And sometimes you've just got to stop. He leads me beside still waters. He's taking us to a place where we can have this life and life to the full that we've been talking about. You know, when I was in Catalyst this year over at conference, Caroline Leaf, who talks a lot about mental health and talks about depression and talks about stress and panic attacks and all the things that some of us have had when we've been in that world. She had a whole different take on it from what I've ever heard before. Sometimes we say that, when we get stressed or something bad happens and we may get depressed and then we go to the doctors and they say, "Look, we can medically fix this. It's like a sickness like cancer or like a headache, and you've got to get medication to help it." And I'm not saying don't if that's what you've been advised to do. But she said this. She said, "You've got to realize that when your body gets stressed and it actually stops, that is God's way of telling you, change what you're doing. You don't medicate yourself, you change what you're doing." And she said, just the way that when pain comes into your body, when you break your arm, you nurture it and change the way you're using because something's gone wrong. A lot of times, stress and depression means change what you're doing. Change the way you're thinking about this. Look further into God's peace rather than medicate. Look further into Him and change what you're doing. And I've never heard that before, and you don't hear that on the radio. And I know that a lot of us have gone down the track. Well, it's just like another sickness. It's a warning sign to change, relook, reconsider, change what you're doing, think about what you're walking through, even grief, handle it differently. If you've gone through a period of time with grief and you've gone 3, 4, maybe 5 years and you're still at that peak like the grief is like yesterday, you need to look deeper into God to change the way you're processing that. Because God has the answers for everything. Everything. It just changed the way I thought of things, and I realized that God makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the quiet waters, and I lack nothing because He is with me. Verse 4 says this, "Even though I walk through the valley of darkness, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. And your rod and your staff, they comfort me." So even when things are tough, even when things aren't going really well, don't fear in the times that are tough. Don't fear when the bad report comes. Don't fear when things looks like it's falling apart, because God never leaves you. He says, "I'm there." And though you walk through, don't stop there, don't camp there, but walk through that situation, God is with you. Now, I got to tell you a story about something that's happened to me. It just happened this week, actually. It's fresh off the press, and when you hear what's happened to me, I know you're going to be pretty upset, as I was upset. But let's just try and get through it. When I was in the States, at Catalyst at conference, me and Locke, our sound guru down the back there, we went to a thing called the Boot Barn in America. And the Boot Barn is just a whole big barn. It is like twice the size of this auditorium, and it's just full of really, really cool boots. Just like this one. The Boot Barn. Hey, Lockie was cracking at the Boot Barn. And Cherie never let me go to the Boot Barn. She says, Mark, you can't have boots. I don't want you wearing cowboy boots. That's not what we do in Australia. No boots for Mark. Cherie didn't go on this trip. So Mark and Locke go to the Boot Barn. Walked into the Boot Barn, and there was just hundreds of boots. There was boots made out of cow, and boots made out of rattlesnakes, and boots made out of ostrich leather. There was boots made out of crocodile. There was boots made out of gator. There was all these different boots. And then once you got down to what sort of boots you wanted, then there was toes that were pointy. There was toes that were round. And I picked the John Wayne toe. This one here, this bad boy right here, is called the John Wayne toe. And I wanted the John Wayne toe because I like John Wayne. He's a hero of mine. And I said, I'm getting the John Wayne toe. That's going to be awesome. So I got these boots, and I love these boots. I took pictures of these boots, and I sent them to Cherie, and she said, I hate those boots. And I said, have another look. Honey, I'll send you another picture from a different angle, and you're going to love the boots. So I sent another picture. She said, I still don't like the boots. I said, hey, hang on a minute. Let me get my leg up in the air on the bed. And I was in my undies, and I had my boots on. I said, look, you just got to see it from a different view. Anyway, it doesn't matter what I did. I tried everything, but she didn't like the boots. But I don't care about that because I wanted the boots, and I thought I'm going to do a sermon about boots. I'm going to have a preach about boots. I'm going to talk about boots, and I'm going to talk about, these boots were made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. And one day these boots they'll just keep walking. That's what these boots will do. And I thought I can talk about these boots, and it's going to be awesome. The boots. Boots scoot. I don't boot scoot. That's not true. But the boots are here. And they work. I love the boots, and I was going to preach on the boots. But let me tell you something, sad story. True story. I was over at Paul and Christine's and having a chat to Paul and Christine, and got a phone call right at the end. Remember, I got a phone call about the trampoline rolling down the street from the big windstorm. And I got that message. I had to go home and get our trampoline from the neighbour's power lines. And she said to me, I got to tell you one more thing. I said, I'm with Paul and Christine. Tell me when I get home. I'll ring you when I get in the car. She goes, no, I've got to tell you now. I said, well, on the phone there, I'm going, just tell me in the car. She goes, I'm telling you now. And I said, what? Paul and Christine are standing right there. True story. And she goes, the dog's taken one of your boots and just completely destroyed it. Now, to this very day, I don't know whether Cherie gave my boots to the dog, or whether the dog accidentally found its way into our room that Cherie always shuts the door every other day. I don't know what's going on with there, but I'm gracious. You've heard what Sam said. I'm very gracious. And I said to Cherie, gotta go, clunk. Goodbye, Paul and Christine. It's good to see you guys. Got in the car, and I am fuming. Driving down the road, going, why would she let my boots get chewed up by the dog? I get home. There's no hello. There's no good hello kiss. There's straight to the room. I go in there, and I see my boot. And the back of the boot, you can't see this because it's all behind my leg, but all up the back there, it's just chewed, just massive chunks and holes, and it's ripped into it. The bit that pulls my boots on has been ripped, so you can't pull them on anymore like a proper cowboy. It's just all bad. And this toe here, I kid you not, see this toe on this one here? I don't know if you can see that, but that was chewed in flat. Not the John Wayne look like that's nice and square, if you can see that. But no, completely chewed in. And this is not the rustic look. That's our dog. And it's all been pushed in there. It's all chewed. I put my fingers in the boot. I tried to pop the John Wayne toe back up, and You can have a look after the meeting, but you can see there's a big difference there between that boot and that boot. And I'm not real happy about that happening. Anyway, I don't want to talk about it too much. And there is a point to this story, trust me. It's just want to let you know. And I thought to myself, I can't wear those boots anymore. I can't wear them to church. Can't wear them to preach in. I can't talk about them anymore. They're destroyed, and that's it. It's something's gone wrong, and it's all over. And then I remembered this. A cow died for these boots. One of God's creatures gave his life so I could wear boots to church. He didn't have a lot of say in it, but he did it nevertheless. And I thought it's not right for someone to give up their life and then I not use the purpose he gave his life up for. And I thought, I'm going to wear those boots. I'm going to wear them on Sunday, and I'm going to wear them proudly. Because just because things go wrong doesn't mean we stop walking in them. Just because things may get a bit chewed up doesn't mean we just stop. Just because they may be a little bit rough around the edges, gone through a hard time, look like there's 98 years of life sucked out of them on one and the other one's brand spanking new. Just because they don't match anymore and things don't look as good as they should, doesn't mean we just throw it away, discard it, and don't use it anymore. We've got to put them back on and we've got to keep walking. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of the dog that nearly died, I will fear no evil. I'll put my boots on and I will keep walking and I'll keep wearing them because this cost a cow his life and I'm going to go forward. If you think about that a little bit deeper and you start to marry that into your own life, just because things have gone wrong and you feel like you've been chewed up doesn't mean that someone hasn't given their life for you so you can keep going. These boots still work as good as they ever did. They look a bit rough. There is a little bit sticking in the back of my leg, but I can still wear them and we can still use them. And as long as I keep on walking, God's going to love me every day and I'm going to love him back and things are going to be good. And the more I wear these this morning, the less those prickly bits and tooth marks digging in the back of my leg are hurting. They're going to wear off. They're going to wear out. The more I wear them, the more it's going to fit my foot. And one day, I won't even remember the dog's chewed them. Sure, his idea was to get the dog to chew the other one so they match, but another story. You see, don't stop in a place that's hard. Don't stop in a place where it's unfruitful. The only way out is to move forward and put them on and keep walking and change it a little bit, tweak it a little bit, rub out some of the stuff that's gone wrong. We put a bit of polish over the top and cut off the bits that are sticking to the back of my leg and keep walking and keep going. The problem is most people like the routine of everything being just how it always was, and when something changes, they don't understand why it needs to change and they stop wearing the boots just because it's changed a little bit on the outside or the way that it feels. I want to talk to you today about breaking out of routine and fulfilling the Great Commission the way that God has called us to do it. But do not stop and stay where you are. When it comes to the Great Commission, we have got to be proactive and keep going forward with it. As a church, I believe we need to move forward. I believe it's easy to get stuck in a rut and do the same things that we've always done and expecting a different result. You realize that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, but expecting a different result. You are insane to do the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Sometimes I look at some of the things the church has done and I think you're just doing the same thing over and over again and you're expecting a different result. And we've got to push past that. And we've got to look a little bit deeper and see how we can change what we're doing. The Great Commission is what we're called to do. I believe that we as a church, it has been clearly stated as a church, that we're a church that exists, sticks together in unity, a group of people to reach unchurched people, the Great Commission. The Great Commission is the one thing that Jesus asked us to do. After he died for us all, he died for our sin, he died for every mistake that we made, he then gave us an incredible grace and said, follow the Great Commission. Go out and let everyone on planet Earth hear the good news. Tell them what Jesus has done for you. Tell them what he's done for us. And we are the hope of all humanity, the message that we carry through Jesus. Mark chapter 16:11 says this: when they heard that Jesus was alive and that she had seen this straight after the tomb when he rose from the dead, they didn't believe. Someone said, we've seen him, but they didn't believe. We got the same problem now where some people in church say, look, we've seen him, but they don't believe. Jesus just didn't give up and say, well, look, we've told them once, they don't believe. That's got to be the end of the story. He just keeps meeting up with them. After Jesus appeared in a different form to two of them, when they were walking in the country, these guys then returned and reported to the rest, but they didn't believe. So Jesus says, hey, I'm alive, but the person that sees that doesn't believe. He then turns up in a different form. He says, hey boys, I'm alive. Go tell the other 10 disciples I'm good to go. Everything I said was true. They go back, tell the other 10. They didn't believe. Jesus just didn't stop there. He realized there was going to be road blockages to people actually believing the good news. He realized it wasn't just going to be, well, we just say it once, put it in the paper, she's done. Have a service, put it in the paper, it's done. She's done. Tell your friend once, she's done. People hear it and don't believe. But that doesn't change the Great Commission. That's what makes the Great Commission so good. Jesus told them, didn't believe, showed up in a different form, told them, and they believe, and then they didn't believe. So then he turns up to the rest and says, look, I really am here. That's got to be the heads up for us, that if we're a church that is here to reach the lost and to spread the good news, there's going to be multiple different angles we try according to culture, society, the town you're in, the people you're trying to reach, the ones you're trying to bring the good news. Make a way to get and tweak it, to get out there and bring the good news. I am passionate about what I'm talking to you about. Because when I first heard this, I wasn't as excited as you might think. Because I've always done what I've always done. But I tell you what, I don't think I'm insane because I'm looking for a different result. So I've got to stop doing what I've always done to get a different result. And it's insane to stay the same way that Jesus kept trying a different angle, doing it again, changing it around. Verse 14 says this: later Jesus appeared to the 11 as they were eating. He got all of them together and he rebuked them for their lack of faith and their stubborn refusal to believe those who had seen him after he had risen. And then he said this, he said to them, go into all the world and preach the gospel to all creation. The first thing Jesus asked us to do when he rose from the dead and we got the revelation of it was to go into all the world and preach the gospel. The main thing we're asked to do is to go into all the world and preach the gospel. What all people that are saved and are following God should be doing in both showing the people with their lifestyle and telling people with the gospel is to go into all the world and live a lifestyle that makes people realize you're better off living with God than without God. To use your words and the word of God to let people know he's alive, he's risen, it's true. Well, we don't believe. Try another angle. Don't believe. Try another angle. Eventually, Jesus will just turn up and say, you know what? What Brendan and Tegan and Sam and Kirsty and Cherie have told you over the last 3 weeks is actually real. And the person will go, oh my goodness, all these people have told me about God. I've seen it's a better life. But now in a dream, in a vision, in my heart, something's changed in my spirit. God always turns up. You do your part and let God turn up and do his part. Or he met the others and they told him, but no one believed. But when they've heard it multiple times and then he turns up himself, it's all over, Red Rover. We're locked in, we're saved, we're following him forevermore. Our eternity is secure. And then he says, go do the same for everyone else. For whoever believes and is baptized will be saved. Now listen to this. But whoever does not believe will be condemned. Saved equals heaven. Condemnation equals hell. Don't miss that, church. Now, I know that most of you in this place are going to get to heaven. I know that. But I want to tell you something. Most people that aren't in this room, that are outside of this room today, are going to hell. Most people that you know and work with and live with are going to hell. And listen, we can't be just content to do what we've always done if it's not working and it's not reaching. We've got to say, God, what do we do? How do we change this? What's the thing for us in this church with a passion to fulfill the Great Commission? What do I need to change to make sure that I'm fulfilling the very thing that Jesus asked us to do? Today marks a point in this church where we are taking another step towards reaching people that don't yet know God and are not yet following Him. It's another step for us. And let me tell you, most of you know this, but I'm talking about launching a 5 p.m. service to reach people that aren't currently here. And I'm telling you, I was against it when I first heard it, but I looked at our fruitfulness and God did something in my heart, and I realized that even if it's inconvenient for me, it's what I've given my life for. I spent 20 years trying to help this city move in the right direction, and I feel like God is on this thing, and if you speak to Him and talk to Him, you'll realize that just because you've always done it, or that's what you've always done, does not mean it's what this church is going to use to win this city. And I'm convinced this is another step towards doing the very reason why we're here. You know, a big change to what we've always done, a big change to the routine that we've always done, a big change to the rut that I feel like I'm in. I've done Sunday morning church, run it for 22 years in this church. I feel like it's just going again and again and again. And I've put my new boots on. And these boots are made for walking. They may look a little bit rough. They may be a little bit uncomfortable when I first put them on. But these boots are made for walking, because that's just what they'll do. And these boots have got to get going because there's stuff that God wants us to do. And the church has got to get moving, and we got to start walking and taking steps towards a direction that will win and change the very people that we're after. And how do I know this? Because so many have said to me, you know what, Mark, we'd love to come to church, but we can't get there in the morning. That's family time. We can't get there because of this. We can't get there because of that. But we would come if it's on 5 p.m. And I'm thinking, you know what these boots are going to do? They're going to walk in that direction, and I'm going to see if they're going to come. I'm going to be here and watch them walk in those doors with their own boots and see what happens. And I want you to stand here with me, and I want you to watch those people put their boots on and walk in as you put your boots on and walk to Sunday evening at 5 o'clock instead of Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. I need you to love them. I need you to be here for them. I need you to shine the light to them. I need you to be here to see these people and show them that this is a life worth living. And if it inconveniences us, I don't care, because that is what I want to reach. And I want to build a church, run a church, belong to a church that's fulfilling the Great Commission, not being insane, doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result because I don't know why. We have got to go in that direction. This time slot is better for the people that we are trying to reach. We have made a decision where the church is not, we've made a decision where church is not about us, but it's about others. You know, Jesus said, put others first. Jesus said, love thy neighbor. Jesus told the story about being a good Samaritan. In other words, going out of your way for the benefit of somebody else. The good Samaritan is going out of your way for what's best for someone else. Even if it's inconvenient, even if it costs a little bit more money, even if you have to put them on the donkey and give up your seat to give it to someone else or your time slot. It's going out of your way to put other people first, put others first, love thy neighbor, be a good Samaritan. The top 2 commandments are to love God and to love others. forget the Great Commission. Let's skip over to the commandments. Love God and love others. And you know what? I think sometimes, and I'm just going to say this for what God's shown me. I think sometimes we've hidden behind the great commandment of love others and love God and then love others. And we've just loved God. We've said to our families, you know what? We can't really come out for lunch with you guys today. I know I don't see you very often. I know you're only up here for, once a month. But church is first. And we're always going to put church first. And for somehow we wore it like a badge. Like all of our unsaved friends or unsaved family see us rushing out to church when they've come up to visit us or see us because it's a good witness to put God first. Well, you know what? God doesn't mind whether you come out Sunday morning or Sunday night. So put the other people first and then still love God on the same day, and then it's a better witness. And maybe if we tweaked a few things, maybe the people that are watching what we do will say, hang on a minute, they do love their family. They do love life. They do enjoy what they're doing on the weekend. And yes, they go to church on Sunday evening at 5 o'clock. But you know what? We might even go and see what they're doing because we're being a witness in lifestyle, not just by example. I'm telling you, there's a lot of good things about this. You see, this time change will help people hear the gospel that would never come to a Sunday morning time slot. And when I say never come, they've never come yet. But I believe they're coming. We moved to Panthers. We moved there. We didn't have to move here. Didn't have to sell. Didn't have to move, okay? But we moved here. We moved here simply. This was my heart. We moved here because Panthers is a far more inviting atmosphere to people that don't know God yet. And it's not as intimidating to walk into a club as it would be a traditional church that they know nothing about for a regular Sunday morning walk with God. We moved it because the move that we've done here has gone extremely well for people that haven't walked into church before. But I think we can do better. I think we can take it a step further. And I think it's time for our church to put its boots on again and say, you know what? It's a very small change, but I can see the benefits of how this is going to help the Great Commission.